Hi everyone, it's Liz. I hope you're all doing well at the moment. Still deep in lockdown 2 here in the UK. It's a bit of a challenging time for everyone, so I hope you're all staying safe. Over the past couple of weeks, I've had quite a few people either DM me on Instagram or leaving comments on my YouTube videos asking if I can tell them a little bit about the machine that I use, or asking me if I can recommend a machine that they could buy. I do get asked this question a lot, which is why I'm doing this video. I do apologise if you've received a reply to your DM or to your comment on another video and I've just referred you here and you feel a bit put out because I didn't send you a lengthy reply about machine recommendations. But I get asked so much and I hate having to repeat myself in my DMs over and over again. So please don't feel offended or put out that I've simply referred you to this video. It was made with you in mind. The thing is, machines are quite a personal thing, so I find that unless the sewing machine that you've got is giving you a problem, you tend to like the one that you have. So for this reason, I'm not really going to necessarily recommend the machine that I have because everyone's budgets are different. And the reasons that people choose the specific features that they choose are generally tied to the thing that they want to sew. So if you're going to be sewing a lot of quilts, you'll choose a machine that has features that are specific to quilt making. Likewise, if you're going to be doing a lot of dressmaking, you'll choose a machine that's suitable more for dressmaking and will have things like a good buttonhole feature or whatever. Also within dressmaking, you might decide that you want to sew more stretch fabrics, which means that you'll look for certain things like you might look for stretch stitches or other features that'll just make sewing stretch things that little bit easier. And if you're going to be sewing a lot of woven things, so you're going to be doing a lot of tailoring or just dressmaking with woven fabrics, you might not look for things that might make your life easier sewing stretch. So with that said, what I am going to do is give you a few of the things that I looked for in my own sewing machine when I was making the decision to buy. And I was looking for a good all-rounder sewing machine that was a step up from the very budget basic machine that I first bought when I started out. Another thing I just want to acknowledge up front is that I'm quite privileged. My setup's good. I spent a lot of money on my machines. I have a sewing machine, a cover stitch and an overlocker. And not everyone can do that, and it might take people a long time to save up for their step-up sewing machine. One thing I would say is that if you can't afford a sewing machine that has the features that I'm going to talk about, and it's something that you really want to aim for, you can always look for second-hand sewing machines, keep an eye on auctions. You can also ask friends, family, neighbours if they have a sewing machine sitting about that perhaps they bought ages ago and actually just don't use anymore. So I'm going to take you through some features now that may just help you narrow down the search and help you understand what it is that you're looking at in a sewing machine. I'm definitely no sewing machine expert. This is just my take on what I was looking for personally when I was looking for a machine to upgrade. So the very first thing I was looking for when I upgraded my machine was adjustable presser foot pressure. This is a super useful thing to have if you are sewing stretch fabrics. It'll just prevent your hems from going wavy when they go through the machine. This is also a really useful thing if you are going to be sewing thinner fabrics or slightly more sheer fabrics. You can just back off on the presser foot pressure and it will help the fabrics just go under your machine without dragging. Another thing that I was looking for, because I didn't have a cover stitch machine at the time, was the capability to use a twin needle in the machine. This is really useful for hemming knits because this gives you almost like a mock cover stitch effect, especially if you use it in combination with overlocking the edge first. So you would simply overlock the edge of your jersey garment and then fold it up and run over the top with your twin needle. I will do a separate video in the future about hemming knits in various different ways, because I think it's one thing that people will be interested to see. But very briefly, what a twin needle does is it gives you 2 parallel rows of stitching along the hem, and on the reverse your bobbin thread zigzags between the 2 lines of stitching, so it gives you a stretchy hem. If you can't afford a cover stitch machine, because they can be quite pricey, or perhaps you don't have the space to keep a separate machine just for hemming jersey, then a twin needle is a very useful thing to be able to use. Another thing I was really interested in making sure my machine had was stretch stitches. I wanted to make sure that in particular mine had a zigzag. Obviously that's very useful when you're sewing with stretch fabrics. I also needed a triple straight stitch, which you use for the side seams on things like leggings. And I wanted a honeycomb stitch, which can give you a really nice decorative hem if you top stitch using it. One other thing I was really keen to have was speed control. So speed control on your machine can take 2 forms. You can either have speed control on your foot pedal, and that will give you a sliding scale of speed depending on how hard you press the foot pedal. You should always double check in the technical specifications whether your foot pedal has speed control, because some of the more budget machines are literally just like an on-off switch on the foot pedal, which my very first machine was. So it was either light speed or off, and that was it. And it was really hard to sew with. So I'd recommend that you at least make sure that your foot pedal has speed control, but even better if you can have a speed control on the body of the machine, which is actually more like a speed limiter. So this will usually be a slider on the front of the machine, and basically you can either choose to have your machine go really fast, or you can slide the slider across and it will limit the speed at which the machine goes, so you can never go over a certain speed, which is quite useful if you're heavy-footed like I am, and you still tend to sew in big boots. I know some people sew with their bare feet, but I can't bear it. I still have to sew with something, it's slippers or boots or whatever. And then the very last thing, which I'm going to mention, that not all sewing machines have, but I really like this feature on my own machine, which is a built-in dual feed. So my machine has almost like a built-in walking foot, and I'm mentioning this because I don't think it's just peculiar to my machine brand. I think you can get other brands that have this type of feature, and it is quite a premium feature, so do forgive me, but I do find it really useful. And if you can't get a machine with this feature, you can always use a walking foot. So just make sure that you can find a compatible walking foot that will work for your machine. I think I covered using a walking foot in my sewing with stretch video, which I'll put a link to up above. And it's a really useful thing. It just basically walks the fabric through the machine instead of pulling it through, and it makes sure that your seams won't stretch out of shape and your hems won't stretch out of shape. So I've tried to keep this video really succinct because no one needs to hear me waffle on about sewing machines for 20 minutes, and also, as I said, I'm not an expert on this subject, but I just wanted to give you a couple of pointers of things that I found really useful to look for when I bought my machine. And if you know about these things, it can help you narrow down what to look for, because I understand that the market can be absolutely baffling. I am a product manager, so it's usually my aim to try and make choosing products as simple as possible. I hope this helped. If you have any other questions, you can ask me below. One other thing I would add is that if you can, when we're allowed to safely do so, go and demo a machine at your local dealer. They're a wealth of information. They really know what they're talking about, and I wouldn't go and buy a car without test driving it. I wouldn't buy a snowboard without demoing it. If you can demo it, you should. It's a big investment, and more crucially, it's something that you want to make sure that you're going to enjoy using. So that just leaves me to say thank you all for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you enjoy these videos. I've had a lot of new subscribers lately, so thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next time.